The whole. Will everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is public comment, and please note that it is limited to 5 minutes. We are timing. First one would be Matthew Shepard.
I'm going to read a couple excerpts here. One comes from a former president, Thomas Jefferson. We in America do not have government by the majority. We have government by the majority participate. All tyranny needs is a foothold for people of good conscience to remain silent. And then from Romans 5, 3-5, not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that the tribulation brings about perseverance. With perseverance, proven character. With character, hope. And with hope that does not dissipate. If we sit by and allow things to happen as they have, then it's just going to continue to be corruption. Benjamin Franklin also said, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As a nation becomes corrupt and vicious, we are in need of many new masters.
John Courtney.
Please allow me to introduce myself and the other two members of the Shiawassee County Regional Veterans Council, as Michael Eckmeyer and Mike Nations. We're a nonprofit organization consisting of 14 million veterans, service organization representing over 3,000 veterans and their families. 13 of these VSOs are Shiawassee County with members residing in all 7 county districts. We're hoping to have a working relationship and an effective communication concerning veterans affairs with the Shiawassee County Commissioners. Our focus is quality service to the veterans within our county. With our goal that the Commission is receptive and inclusive of all veterans who have served our nation honorably. We respectfully request the Commissioner consider including all veterans who have served in the past, current, and future conflicts, so as to perpetuate service to all veterans in need of the future. Respectfully submitted, John Gordy, Mike Nations, Michael Eckmeyer. Thank you.
Mr. Nations.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Nations, and I'd like to address this Veterans Affairs matter. And I chose to do this at the beginning of the meeting until I noticed it's on the agenda. But first of all, I'd like to know that I didn't wake up one day and decide I want to be on this committee, okay? I was asked by commander of one of the VFW posts here in the county to do that. I'm a retired Marine. I spent most of my adult life in uniform. Traveled this world, served this country, and I'm proud. And I don't know if how many veterans sit on this commission, but we're a proud bunch. It really doesn't matter if you serve or not, to me. But if you did serve, you understand what I'm talking about. We're a proud group. That's why I'm here today. I have no problem with who you choose. That's immaterial. What I do have a problem with is the method that this commission chose to do it. Okay, I have the very letter here that was sent requesting these applicants, and I'd like to ask Mr. Ali, what was the purpose for this letter?
The purpose of this letter is by law. We must request.
Okay, thank you, sir. I kind of figured that. So by law, that the commission checked that box. You're covered by law. For the folks that haven't read the letter, I have it right here. I'm not going to read the entire letter, but the letter is dated November 4th, 2015, to the veterans organizations There's 13 in Shiawassee County. It's from Mr. Ali, the chairman. Subject, Shiawassee County Veterans Affairs Committee. Shiawassee County Board of Commissioners is seeking individuals who may be interested in serving on the Veterans Affairs Committee for Shiawassee County. To be eligible to serve, an individual must be a resident of Shiawassee County and a veteran with an honorable discharge. Then there's a paragraph that states what the job title is. I'll skip that. The Board of Commissioners is seeking broad-based representation of veterans on the committee. Those interested in which can be considered by the Board of Commissioners should submit a letter of interest, resume, proof of honorable discharge, and a recommendation from a chartered veterans organization to this committee, or this commission. Then it goes on to say the Board of Commissioners seeks representatives from all branches of the service, as well as all wars, conflicts, etc. It gives a deadline, 30th of November, 2015. Okay, I've never attended one of these. This is my second county commission meeting, but the last one was already in the agenda to just consider the other two gentlemen that their term is about to expire. They probably been doing a good job. I appreciate anything that they do for veterans, okay? But the way you went about it, to me, is just, yeah, it was wrong, okay? This letter right here, and you've already stated that by law you had to do that, okay? Well, you got 9 applicants, 9 veterans. I don't know if they qualified or not, but nine folks applied. So we come to this meeting expecting to be fair. The letter, the intent of this letter, you know, is very forthright, okay? But the actual actions of this committee, and not every member on this commission, but as a whole, you had to have a roll call vote. Why would you have to have a roll call vote to consider the very applicants that you requested? I don't get that. It come down to a 4-3 vote. And I really think because enough veterans stood up and voiced their opinion that the deciding vote was to table it for a month. The comment was made that we'll table it for a month, not that it makes a difference. Well, I'm here to tell you as a veteran it makes a difference. Every one of us in here. You know, and my second issue is the veteran service officer. In all fairness to that individual, I've been to her office. Very helpful. I was very impressed. Helped me, helped my uncle, who was also a retired Marine. So I had a very high opinion. I really don't think it was appropriate for the veteran service officer to stand up before this commission and challenge other veterans that want to help veterans. I mean, that just doesn't pass the smell test to me. So with all that said, and all that in mind, I respectfully withdraw my name for consideration. And because you wrote the letter, sir, I'd like that sent back to me. My presidential commendation letter, my DD 214, and the other letters that were included in that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pytosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am here to comment on your organizational meeting. The organizational meeting, as I read in the paper, said that the Board of Commissioners shall follow Robert's Rules of Order. 16 years ago, when I was county clerk, I was a certified parliamentarian. I don't think the rules have changed that much. Specifically, those rules point out that the chairman does not make motions from the floor. He can read the motions, but somebody else has to make that motion and someone then supports it. On a 3-member committee or 5-member, whatever, the chairman still cannot make a motion. On a 3-member committee, if there's only 2 people there, the chairman can second a motion if there's only 2 there, but he cannot make the motion and have the other person chair. The chairperson is only there to keep the organization or keep the meeting running smoothly. And so it bothers me when I read in the paper that the chairman of this committee or that committee or whatever makes a motion. And that is strictly against the very same rules that you passed at your organizational meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we'll have a report on economic and physical development. Commissioner Horvath.
Thank you. We can make a motion to consider reappointing Gary Burke, representing Industrial Waste Generator, and appointing Melissa Higby, representing Environmental Interests, and Rod Frank, representing City Government, to the Solid Waste Management Committee for a 2-year term from January 1, 2016 through December 31, 2017, or until successors are appointed.
Support. Be any discussion on this? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and I report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next will be County Finance and Administration, Commissioner Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the request from Jenna Julie, Deputy Drain Commissioner, to carry over up to 15 days of vacation time to be used in April, May of 2016.
Support.
Any discussion on this matter?
I think we discussed it the other day.
All in favor of this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I move to approve resolution number 16-01-01, ratifying the tentative agreement reached with Probate Court, Circuit Court Family Division Employees Association.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Horvath. Is there any discussion on this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I move to authorize the Sheriff's Office to hire 2 corrections officers at the POLC Corrections Officer range of $38,014 to $42,717, contingent upon the continuation of the Genesee County project revenue at or above the 2015 level.
Support.
Would be any discussion on this matter? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to authorize the hiring committee to hire a financial administrator at a pay grade 14 on the rise salary schedule determined by Municipal Consulting Services, LLC, with a salary range of $63,863, $78,000 to $78,133.
Support.
Any discussion on this matter?
I think we have 4 applicants as of today. Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Well, I have a quick question, is that, when did, this position, when was the duty title changed from, was a financial specialist, which is what, I believe Cheryl has been called for and referred to for like ever, to financial administrator?
When it came back from municipal consultants, the term was financial director that we sent over, and that we all approved in December. And that's, in your board packet, you'll see that's what they sent over.
Well, I couldn't find it in our past minutes that it was even authorized to be sent to municipal outfit.
It was the Thursday meeting, we approved it. We approved by majority to get it put on the agenda, as we found out Cheryl was leaving January 6th.
Well, my question still is why was it changed to administrator?
Jim, again, looking at your board packet, sir, Mark Notley, principal from Municipal Consulting Services, LLC, put together this. It was independent and third party, not done by the board.
Also, just to comment to this discussion, we're basically looking at someone with the financial accrual that Cheryl had, along with possibly coordinator with the board. We've had a county administrator, and we had our financial director under our county administrator, and we're looking maybe to combine that job into one. That's a discussion point. So after we look at our applications, when the application process closes, I believe we're through January 20th, we'll accept applications for this position. Then we'll take a look at to see exactly what we want to do, and if we feel among those applicants, somebody could possibly fill that role. So that's kind of where that discussion is going.
Yeah, and again, in the packets, the financial administrator, again, that came over from independent third party, the essential functions, page 1 is 1 through 10 were all things that Cheryl's job did. 11 through 14 are things Cheryl stepped in to do, and that's why they're on there, and that's all we're really looking for. So if you want to reference your packet.
So the intent is that down the road, you're thinking about putting a financial person and the county administrator's jobs together?
Not at this time. Right now, we're trying to fill it out.
Well,
Is that what John was just mentioning?
yeah, that might be an alternative, but that would be the board. But presently, we're looking for somebody to fill Cheryl's position, but we may have somebody that's really quite qualified. So we'll take a look at, all options are open, but.
Well, I'm just curious, because now you're mentioning the county administrator's position, which in the last year, we voted that down a couple, 2-3 times, that we do not want a county administrator. And we never could agree on whether, the subject came up, whether it's part-time or full-time, as in we opted not to hire anybody at the last meeting. As is now it's being brought up as a possibility connected to
Well, I
this.
think if you look at what Commissioner Howie said, 1 through 10 or 11, was for Cheryl's job, and then if you read through the other ones, they were just several, just very basic things.
You handle the MMRMA, the risk insurance, some of the other things. That's what we're talking about. John?
I just brought up for discussion, it's gonna be one person, it's not gonna be two.
No, but we're not looking at an administrator at this time.
No. But somebody to handle some other things besides what Cheryl handled.
Correct. There was a half a dozen things on that list that we're hoping that this person, or at least I am, a few of us are hoping that they could maybe step up and do a few of the things as Cheryl had done in the last 2 years.
Okay, like I say, it just seems confusing. You're trying to bundle everything together I don't understand, I don't agree with that train of thought. If we need somebody, which I do think we do need somebody like Cheryl, but do we need her full-time?
Do we need Cheryl?
And do we need her, in the office here, or over in the treasurer's office, where he's the guru that knows everything about, finances? That was a compliment, huh? Yeah. So I'm just curious, what's going on?
Big difference between Mr. Dwyer's job and our county CPA, where Cheryl Grice was. The Board of Commissioners are responsible for bringing in a balanced budget, keeping track of the spending and the revenues. Cheryl Grice did that on a daily basis. We had monthly reports to know exactly where everybody was, so as to, if we had a problem, we could address it in a timely manner. That is not Tom Dwyer's bill. He is not in charge of the budget. We are, so that's why we have a financial person working for us. That's the difference, Les. There's two. Tom knows all that stuff, sure he does, but his job is entirely different than what Cheryl Grice's job was.
Commissioner? Well,
What pay scale was, I guess I don't know what pay scale Cheryl Bryce's job was.
I believe it was 10,
Oh, okay.
and when the benefit was 14, so we,
Any further discussion? All in favor of moving this forward to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
4-2, it passes. Commissioner?
I move to approve budget adjustments number 16-1, number 16-2, number 16-3, number 16-4, number 16-5.
Support.
Any discussion on this matter?
these are budget adjustments that Cheryl put together before she left. Another reason why you would need somebody in that position. She wrote in and included the reasoning for each and what board meeting we voted on these changes at, if you are so inclined.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request from Richard Warner, Emergency Management Coordinator, to roll the remaining FY 2014 grant funds into the amount of $33,082.52 into the 2016 budget.
Support.
Any discussion on this?
Essentially, we're prepaying for our code red program that sends out emergency alerts, text, emails, things of that nature. Interesting way of doing it, but that's how Mr. Warner would like to proceed.
Good use of the money. Any other discussion on this matter? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Commissioner Plowman. Public Safety and Courts, Commissioner Horvath.
Thank you. Motion to consider authorizing district court to hire a probation secretary to refill a vacancy at a pay grade 3 on the Rice salary schedule with a salary range of $24,774 to $30,309.
Ordered Commissioner Holzhausen. Is there any discussion on this matter? I think anyone that was here yesterday, Judge Clarkston presented this. No other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Chairman, that concludes my report.
Next is Health and Human Services. Commissioner Elway, would you want myself or Commissioner Plowman?
You.
I'll read it and then you can make a motion.
Okay.
To consider, a motion to consider removing from the table the motion to consider reappointing Douglas Hurick and James Carruthers to the Veterans Affairs Committee for a 4-year term from January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2019, or until successors are appointed.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second it. Is there any discussion on this?
This is to remove the table and put it back out on for this meeting.
So this is the time, sorry.
No, this is just the time, if this is something we want to do today, to put it off the table, we'll bring it up for motions, open discussion.
Open discussion, okay, thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to consider approving the agreement for extension services provided by Michigan State University to the Shiawassee County, the annual work plan for the period of January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2016. Oh. So we need to discuss that before we move on. I'm sorry. I was wondering when we were going to do that. that, but he said so.
You wait till the end.
So
That motion is now open.
So now, item A on Health and Human Services is up for discussion. Commissioner Snyder.
Well, thank you. My hand even raised my hand yet, but I'm glad you
Maybe
paid
we're going
attention.
to, sir.
Yeah. As I said last meeting, I don't have a problem with Doug and Jim being on this committee. I do have a problem the way, as it's been brought up, is that the way it was handled is last time, and it's still this time. We have never had a meeting where we considered the 7 other applicants besides Jim and Doug. We should have had a meeting and discussed the employment and their own credentials for all 9 veterans. The law reads it depends on what you want to listen to and how you want to interpret it. The PA 214, which is what the relief fund is, and they operate under those rules for the 214 on how they help veterans in need. That was written back in 1899. No significant changes until it was amended by PA 192 in 1953. They changed the name, which is something we did do, and a few other things, including the requirements and such for employees assigned to the committee. But the intent under the 214 was that you have no more than 2 veterans from one war period, as is for replacement, if you put the ad in the paper, which we did. You asked for applicants, which we did, but we never discussed any of the applicants. And the big problem is that we have 1 Iraq vet, 2 Desert Storm vets, now 1, which are war periods that are not represented on the committee. And it should be, because it goes from it started way back in World War I, and then World War II, Korea, and on up to date. But it stopped at Vietnam. And most of the veterans here all know how they were treated when they come back from Vietnam. Very poorly. Even by our other veterans, the World War II era and such. They were not recognized for anything. And they were banned from, they were allowed from even like joining a VFW and such. And now, in essence, you're doing the exact same thing. The Vietnam vets are now saying, Desert Storm in Iraq don't count. And the VA committee is, in essence, is also saying that we don't, we're experienced. We don't need the new guys. And the whole point of the thing is that it's sort of a rotating deal where you have somebody from each war period. Because things change over time. Stuff from, the young guys from Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of their problems are different than the World War II or Korea or Vietnam. So you want that fresh set of eyes and ears and attitude, mentality on these committees to make these decisions. Not stick with just the old guys. And everybody here knows that I was removed from the VA committee. And one of the things that they brought up, even though I had 1 term behind me, and I had all the experience, that didn't count. But now all of a sudden, they're using it as they're experienced, and the new guys aren't. And I'm going, well, 4 years ago, Doug and Jim, they didn't know diddly about it either. but they learn. And I'm just saying is that I'm a strong supporter that we need newer people on these committees. And they deserve and they earn the right to be considered. And this board has not considered them. The recommendations is of the regional as an organization, because it's not congressionally chartered, as this means that committee cannot have any official capacity. But every member of that committee, that board rather, are commanders of all of our service organizations. And they do have the right. So we should be listening to them. And I can go on and quote all kinds of laws and Attorney General's opinions, and I got briefcases full of information to back it. And the whole point is fair is fair. We need to take care of our younger veterans. We should encourage them. All of our organizations are hurting because we do not have young veterans stepping forward. And now that we have some that's stepping forward, we're saying, oh, you're not experienced. Maybe next time. And that's wrong. It's disrespecting our vets. So I suggest that we have a real interview process. We got a couple, 3, 4 of them here now today, call them in like we would anybody else's. Go through the paperwork and credentials. You got questions, you ask them. It's the same thing we do for these other positions, on the other committees. We have a number of people that apply, they get the paperwork, and we talk about it. Who's best, who's not, who's got, that kind of stuff. But it has never happened with the veterans issue. And I'm just saying we should.
I absolutely agree with what Les said, that we need to take care of our newer veterans. And that's the purpose of this Veterans Outreach Program that we're starting this year, that these gentlemen are championing, to get these young guys coming home help, to keep them out of jail due to PTSD. The drug court that Judge Stewart's championing will eventually lead to, hopefully, a veterans court as well. Pulling these guys out now would be like pulling out your All-American quarterback and running back at halftime. Something you don't do in the middle of a big game. But you're absolutely right, we do need to do that. And I don't know any other committees where we sit here and debate every individual, but that's false, stretching the truth. That being said, we get their information in our board packets. We don't throw applications away because I get mine electronically. So I'd have to throw away the entire email which has all the information I need for the entire week out, which I'm not going to do. Based on the information in our packets, last month I was prepared to go based on every person's individual qualifications based on what you said. So by law, they have to have a recommendation from a chartered veterans organization. 2 members do not have that. So that automatically cancels out Mr. Shepard and Mr. Jim Woodworth, who was a dear friend. So then we got into, you discussed...
real quick, Mr. Shepard does have a recommendation.
It wasn't in at the time of the application sent to us. I don't have it.
It was
in our packet.
in his letter where he stated that he did have the permission and recommendation of the DAV.
Not signed by the DAV.
That's
That's like me writing my own recommendation letter. That's not how the world works.
No.
Dear sir, hire me because so-and-so thinks I'm great, signed Hartman. That's not how that works. So that will cancel out Mr. Shepard and Mr. Woodward. You then stated you wanted representation from the younger or the newer wars, which would cancel out Mr. Church and Mr. Hetfield because they're already Vietnam veteran era veterans, which already have representation, leaving your son and Mr. Nations, who has since removed his name from the applicants. So that leaves your son and a player to be named later, if you will. That's what I did last month. Let's discuss. What do you think about these gentlemen? Who would you recommend?
I would recommend the Iraq and the Desert Storm.
Well, we don't have a Desert Storm. Desert Shield, Mr. Shepherd does not qualify again because he has no chartered letter. It wasn't in on time dates as Mr. Nation.
in 2013.
Right, it doesn't carry over. For, hey, I applied in 2010, take my resume.
No, you're going off in left field here.
Not at all, actually.
At the last meeting when this was all brought up, the DAD commander was here. And he, literally said that he was.
We can't change the rules.
I'm not changing the rules. You're the one that's
It wasn't,
denying.
there's no recommendation in our packets from a chartered group for Mr. Shepherd.
There's a letter in there, from Mr. Shepherd, stating that he had the recommendations from the DAD.
And I have
And
a
it was
recommendation from
verified
Jimmy
by the
Hendricks to
commander.
this board.
So my presidential commendation from 1996 has no bearing
Did you, it would,
carrying forward of anything that you want to represent.
that would be a letter to consider with your application, but there would still need to be a letter from a
It's still
chartered
a full-state
organization.
letter.
And as far as Mr. Shepherd is concerned, there's some issues I have with demonstrate knowledge, skills, experience in public service, things of that nature that we could get into. But I don't want to do that at this time. I don't know how his court cases are going over that. But this is the time for us to discuss it. Let's discuss it. He has his time at the end.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He removed his time. This is for our board to discuss. This is a decision we make. Now, does anybody else want to discuss? Gentlemen.
I looked at all the individuals. I also looked at the two individuals that have been serving. Our Veterans Affairs Committee has been working excellently. We have an excellent director. They come to the meetings. They come to commissioner meetings. They certainly would get my vote on the fact that they're doing their job. They've been doing their job, and they're dedicated. If there had been a vacancy, I certainly would have looked at the applicants, the other ones, and found somebody to serve. I wouldn't have gone out to find somebody. But the two gentlemen that have been appointed, reapplied, paperwork in order. I probably would like some of you people too. But I've worked with them and we have a good working relationship. That's how I base my vote.
Public comment at the end. I'll speak first then. I agree. I do sit at my kitchen table and study my entire packet for several hours before I come to any of these meetings. And I too did look at all the applicants. I feel Mr. Nations was a very strong candidate. If there would have been a vacancy, I would have had no problems bringing you forward. I also looked at the gentlemen that are already there. I too feel that they're doing a good job. They did reapply. If one of them wouldn't have, it would have been a change in this. But I feel the gentlemen that we have right now are doing a good job. And I also agree with Mr. Snyder. I don't know, term limits, the commissioners change every 2 years also. And why you were taken out is nothing to do with this board that's sitting here now. But I do totally agree that eventually we have to keep working and bringing younger and newer people in. I just think it's a good idea. But like I said, at this time, the gentlemen that applied feel they're doing a good job. And if there had been a vacancy, it would have been a lot different deal. But that's where I see it.
My thinking follows along a similar vein to what you just stated, and also to what you just stated. We handle other committee assignments by considering other applicants. When we have somebody up for a reappointment, we strongly think about that. But I certainly think that it weighs heavily for people who are being reappointed, that they've been doing the job. These folks, and it was commented on last month, that everybody agrees that they're doing a fine job. And I also, and I do want to speak to perhaps a little something that has been stated here, and I think it's just different ways of interpreting a letter. Commissioner Alvey, in the letter that was sent to you, I don't think it needs to be interpreted as, we are, we're going to ask for applications and tick people off because we're asking for applications for a committee assignment, just as Mr. Snyder pointed out. We're not here to do that. We want to get a file of people who are expressing interest in filling a position. Quite often, we're thinking of a vacancy. So I just, I really hope you'll consider that. And I think sometimes these motions get a little. I know mine do.
Yeah, it's a passionate issue with me, all right?
And I understand that. I just want to express the fact that the appreciation is certainly there on everybody's part that has submitted an application. We really do appreciate that. Because that's what moves the things along for us.
But I agree with John, and maybe going forward, maybe not term limits, but maybe a point system on how we rank. I don't know the best way. There's so many veteran groups in Shiawassee County. Should we rank them on who has the most? Let's get the most diverse representation as we can. Which group has 3,000 veterans? Okay, maybe one person from that group. Which area has another 3,000? Maybe break it up like district, where we have 5 districts in the county, and each district has a representative to the VA board. Maybe something to consider in the future.
I think now this board's just following policy.
Yeah, I think it comes off as, because we reappoint, and we do, every other board, we put consideration towards those who serve for us and want to serve again. Because you're obviously not here for the money. You're here to represent the county. And maybe we have a weight system where, okay, they're appointed once, they want to be reappointed, that's 2 points. Okay, they served in this war. How do you rank that? Okay, they got it. But maybe there's a way. So that this doesn't have to happen every 2 years. Because this is the only board that fights.
Won't be next time either. Because the other two will be up.
Yeah.
Yes.
You all have, valid points, but as I stated, so I believe I do too. And Hartman, you're saying is that no recommendation that you won't even consider Mr. Shepherd. And I've had this subject come brought up before, and I'm going to do it again. We have 2 other members that are on that committee that were appointed by a past board with no recommendation. What do we do with them?
It's a great question. What did the Court of Appeals say about it when you went?
Court of Appeals didn't address any of that. Court of Appeals, all they did address was the point that we had asked a question, which is, do we have to recognize people appointed by the commissioners to the VA board without any documentation? And what we were asking for was a recommendation letter. The committee, the board of commissioners at that time would not produce one. And so we could not, in all honesty, recognize a veteran is as if he had no letter of recommendation, which is now back in their own bylaws saying that you have to have it. It was in the law the whole time. But they were appointed anyway, and we objected to that. So we were removed. But it had nothing to do with the veterans laws. That was a county commissioner law under 4611. That is that we didn't follow an order by the Board of Commissioners.
Well, we're we're talking about the two veterans here today who are here by law, who do have the chartered letter.
Yeah.
And most of your issues with the Veterans Committee stem back to being removed based on that information. And you took it all the way to the Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Did
Did they honor the appointments?
No.
What happened?
No.
Help us understand.
The only thing is as you know, in law, is only, they only look and consider the one thing or multiple things as that is brought up in the case. They said with us that we questioned was, we did not follow the Board of Commissioners' decision that we had to recognize those other three people actually. We did not recognize that because they had showed us no credentials.
You were the plaintiff in this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The plaintiff was guilty of misconduct or neglect following notice of the charges, notice of the hearing, and an opportunity to be heard at the hearing. There's a 4611 point N. The plaintiff failed to state a claim on which relief could be granted, and no genuine issue of material fact existed as to whether defendant followed proper procedure in removing plaintiff from the VA committee. As such, the trial court properly granted summary disposition for defendant. And those defendants were the Board of Commissioners, correct, that you now set up.
Yeah, everything you're reading is correct. I have no problem with that. We took it all the way to the appeals court. But they did not judge that we were right or we were wrong. What they judged was that we wouldn't follow the commissioner's orders that we recommend. We recognized the three appointees.
Well, that was a different board then, and I'm going to follow this charter, this law, this Act 192 of 1953, where the letter has to be in, the recommendation has to be in. That makes sense, does it not? That's what you fought for, correct?
Yes.
And now you want to turn on me and say that's wrong, even though that's what you took all the way to the Court of Appeals.
No,
We're on the same
I'm
side
not
here.
turning anything on you. Because what I'm saying is that two individuals in the past had been appointed, three of the individuals had been appointed by the Board of Commissioners without recommendations.
And what year was that?
That was